For the first episode of the new channel here, I really wanted to do something special, so I needed something that was written off. And I was going through my cars, and I found this 1977 Pack and Pacer, and it really doesn't get any more written off than this. This thing's been painted, the roof is a little bit crushed in, tires are shot, undercarriage is decent. I probably won't be using the same tires, but we're going to try to get this thing back to pretty close to factory condition. Let's see what it looks like in my book. This is a 1977 release. I don't have any tampos for this car today, so I'm just going to repaint it for now. And if I can find the Packing Pacer tampos or the decals, I'll put those on maybe in another video. Who knows? When I was inspecting this car earlier, I could see that there is a remnants of yellow paint in the door jamb, so we are going to do a yellow once we straighten this up, and hopefully I can save this windshield. And the other cool thing about this car is in the back here, what makes it a Packing Pacer is it's got a rear engine. This engine looks like it's missing all its chrome. The whole interior is supposed to be chrome. We're gonna see what we can do, I guess. But other than that, the old roof's kind of crushed in and two spots. This post is bent. We're gonna see what we can do. Hopefully bring her back from the dead. Put a nice paint job on it. So let's get to it. So to get the car apart, the first thing we're going to do is drill out this little rivet here. I've got an automatic center punch. That really makes it easy. Doesn't take much for your drill bit to slide right off of this rivet and you'll end up wrecking the bottom of the car. So this gives us accuracy when we're drilling. Automatic center punch, that's the way to go. So now we're going to drill that a little bit bigger. There we go. Once your rivet's drilled out, we can just pry this apart carefully. Oh. Got a lot of paint holding this together. So it looks like the majority of our chrome is worn away, and possibly somebody tried to paint the seats from the outside of the car. This looks alright. With any luck, all that paint preserved our glass perfectly. There's no cracks or anything, so I'm gonna do what I can to try to dissolve this old paint and maybe we can make it work. This is gonna be a bit of a doozy. Clean our area here. Jeez. First things first, we're going to strip the paint off our car, and we're going to use Aircraft paint remover. This is made by Clean Strip. Works really good, non-flammable, extremely smelly. Make sure you mix her up good. Alrighty. For this, I just use a paintbrush. Clearly. And it seems like the thicker you can put this stuff on your car, the better it works. Every now and then you'll get a scoop that's got a little bit of, I don't know, kind of looks like mucus. You can get the mucus on there. It really bubbles the paint quicker. Here's our pacer, looking sharp, looking clean. Our pillar is very damaged. Should be able to straighten that out though, no problem. And then we got to push up our roof a little bit here in the back. Get her all looking sharp before we do a paint job. It's going to use my pick here and clean up these lines very lightly. You don't want to put too much pressure and end up scratching your car. But I do want to make sure that these are open because I don't want to lose the details when we paint. It looks good. How am I going to straighten this out? I'm going to just try manipulate this a little bit. Really trying to avoid taking a hammer to this thing. Just trying to straighten it using my strength in my hands. And just like that, wasn't so bad. I just used a screwdriver and kind of pried on it from the inside like that. Nobody's going to be able to tell that that was bent. And I mean, this car is just for me anyways. I realized it's not worth anything before I took it apart, and now it's definitely not worth anything after I took it apart. Alright, where were we? Yeah, this dent. Dent in the roof. That might need a hammer. Well, I did what I could. We'll just sand that dent out. No big deal, right? Always bugs me when you see someone restoring one of these cars and then you see the casting leftover burrs that are on the inside of the windshield. That drives me crazy. So I make sure I get all that stuff. I ain't messing around here. If you're taking it apart, I mean, you might as well do it right. And some people say, oh, I don't want to mess with the original casting. Well, you already, drilled out the posts. So, I mean, you're committed. Forgive me if I go overboard. Right here, too. See that? That pains me. Oh, okay. This car's in pretty good shape, other than mostly the interior is the bad part. This body's actually really good now that we got it pretty straight. So this should paint up real nice. So maybe what we'll do is we are going to go ahead and paint this right now, and then I'll work on the interior and the chassis while this is drying. How's that sound? Alright, so getting back to our interior here. I used a bunch of paint thinner and a toothbrush, and that's what I was able to remove all the old paint with, and that seemed to work out okay. You could see the couple spots there where there is some chrome left. That is what was covered by the original paint, that some kid put on there 20 years ago. So we're going to use our liquid chrome paint pen, which I haven't used on a scale that's this large. I've only done, bumpers and maybe like tail lights and things like that, but it should do quite well for this. And it's pretty simple. You just paint it on there, and it's actually pretty fun to do. There we go. I sped up the camera a little bit and got that thing completely covered, and I think it looks pretty damn good considering what it was before. And now we have the chassis. Like, I don't think I'm going to be saving these wheels. They're pretty much toast, so I'm going to cut them off, and I got some other wheels I'm going to replace them with. I wish I was able to undo these little crimps and just crimp new ones in, but I don't have the technology to do that, so I'm gonna take my side cutters and just start cutting off tires. Once you get one tire off, you can just pull the other one out. So I'm going to use a wire wheel and just clean off some of the oxidization as much as I can, try to polish this, and then later on I'm going to use some rubbing compound and a polish wheel, and I should be able to get it looking pretty decent, you know, for what it is, without going overboard. If you guys watch Bare Metal's channel, you see he does a little thing he likes to call electro polishing, and that's where you basically put a charged piece of metal into some acid and it removes oxidization and pretty well does all of this in one step. So I'm going to be trying to build one of those setups coming up on the channel. I'll probably do a video on it. I don't know how it's going to go, but it seems to work so well. I mean, this guy, he'll take like a penny that's completely crusty and he'll dip it into his little tank and it comes out looking brand spanking new without even doing anything in like 5 seconds. And I'm spending all this time with my rubbing compound and my polish wheel, and I'm buffing this thing, trying to get it as looking as good as I can. So here's our base. It's all cleaned up. Unfortunately, the little crimps aren't going to allow us to put new axles in, so I'm going to cut slots through them. Just using the Dremel. Very carefully, just cutting a little slot where my axle will fall in, and then I'm going to be gluing them in place on this particular project. Just like that. And just one little dab of like JB Quick Weld or crazy glue, hot glue, whatever you got. I'm probably going to use a crazy glue gel for mine. But that's the easiest way to put on new axles if you're building one of these. I stole these mags off another parts car I had. It was a little Porsche that was just completely smashed. Looked like it got drove over by a car. The roof was completely pressed into the interior, but the wheels were decent, so I saved them. So I'm just going to cut the slot in what I believe is the back. I switched to a voiceover in this part of the video. Some of my sound got corrupted by a furnace firing up, but so we're just going to put a little dab of our crazy gel into the grooves we cut on both sides. And that'll bond to our axles, and they'll be in there, and they'll be strong. They'll be really strong. We got our axles all lined up. Everything looks really good. And I'll just put this to the side for now and let that glue set up before we do the final assembly. Just let that dry for a little bit, and then we will put the whole car back together. So the last thing I wanted to do was give the windshield one more polish. I know I was missing some footage earlier on how I cleaned it all off. All I did was I used paint thinner and I sanded all the surfaces that were covered in paint thinner. I just sanded with 400 grit sandpaper dipped in paint thinner. So I basically did a wet sand with 400 grit paper, and that worked out really well. Even though my windows were all scuffed up, I was able to polish them smooth, polish them clear with my rubbing compound, and that worked out perfect, as you can see. So before I reassemble the car completely, I want to go back and reminisce of what this little pacer looked like beforehand. And it was pretty trashy, I will admit. It was a piece of junk, but we brought it back from the dead. This is our new pacer. She's gorgeous. She's show ready. It's everything worked out really well on this car. I have no complaints. We basically saved this thing from the brink of extinction. I'm really happy that I went with the metal flake red instead of the yellow paint. It kind of makes that little windshield and all the windows just kind of pop a little better. Our liquid chrome did an amazing job doing the interior. Polishing the metal base worked out really well. Everything looks great. And I'm very happy with this car. I'm going to give it a week or so to let the paint harden fully, and I might go back and polish it a little bit better. So that's what I have for you this week, and tune in next week. We might be doing a red line, we might be doing a black wall. I'm not even sure yet. Thanks for watching, guys.